Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Media Pulse.
All right, it has been another busy week,
It has.
politically speaking anyway, as usual.
Very colourful.
But the focus seemed to be on one particular development that was what is equivalent to the State of the Nation speech by the Prime Minister.
Yes, so Prime Minister Paetongtarn went on stage on Thursday and talked about the highlights of 2024 as well as the vision for 2025.
She was supposed to talk about what she would portray as achievement by her government
Yeah.
for the year 2024, despite the fact that she has been in office for only 3 months.
Yeah, so it was, to recap the first 90 days of her in government.
But of course, in the eyes of her critics, the elections were quite immediate.
Yeah, they weren't very happy about it, wasn't it?
No, they raised questions whether or not there have really been any achievement that she can really brag about.
Yeah, so let's just do a quick recap. I think the speech started off with a video, so basically a montage of the PM to show how much work she has done during the first 90 days of her government. So that includes visiting the flood-affected areas in the north, kick-starting the 10,000 baht handouts program. There were talks about 30 baht for all health programs and the announcement of Google $1 billion investment in data center in Thailand and much more. So that was bragged as her achievements. And then she sets out the goal for 2025. And among the points she mentioned, this is like so many areas. And she says there's going to be initiative on water management projects to tackle floods and droughts, tackling PM 2.5 pollution, combating drug trafficking by introducing a safe platform so that people can report directly to the Prime Minister's office. Talks about ending business monopoly, reduce energy and electricity costs, and promoting local Thai craft spirits, tackle underground economy. The list goes on.
All right. What she outlined in her speech tend to focus more on she thinks her government will do in the coming year.
Yeah. Okay.
Simply said, she was probably trying to suggest that forget about 2024 because I have been in office for only 3 months, so don't expect too much from me.
The critics are not very
kind.
Yeah, I was not going to use that word, but
Okay.
yeah. So while her speech was happening actually on Thursday, Parliament was also in session. So news headlines on the day before the speech actually raised some questions on whether or not she chose to make the speech on the same day to avoid answering questions in Parliament.
She was simply being accused of neglecting her parliamentary duty by not appearing before the chamber, in the chamber to answer questions or queries from MPs. And these MPs, mostly in the opposition bloc, accuse her of deliberately scheduling the State of the Union, the State of the Nation speech to coincide with the first day of the House, so that she would have the excuse of not being there personally to answer all these queries. Yeah.
She actually addressed this critiques. She said she's not ignoring work in Parliament and will surely turn up to answer questions. And she also said that she has delegated the areas of responsibilities to her deputies. So having her deputy PMs or ministers answer questions in Parliament might be better because they would be able to give more detailed answers.
No, we have talked to a number of political commentators, and they seem to have given her half thumbs down.
Thumbs down?
Not total,
Half.
not a total thumbs down, but
How
half
do you do that? Like
thumbs
half?
down.
Yeah, okay.
Meaning that they were not quite happy with the contents of her delivery, and that they believe that what she talks about the future doesn't really contain any vision that she might have for the country.
Yeah.
Because all the things that she outlines that she and her government would do as basic, issues that is a duty of the government anyway, to tackle those things. Correct. But nothing visionary about what she said. Yeah.
We have one reaction from คุณสมชัยศรีสุทธิยากร This is the former election commissioner, and he posted on his social media. I said, "It is not a speech about the government's achievements. It is also not about delegating responsibilities to government officials. It's just another round of selling dreams for people to keep waiting." That's what he says.
Selling dreams seem to be the phrases used by most of the political commentators that we talk to for their reactions toward Kun Paetongtarn's speech on Thursday.
Yeah, we also have reactions from MPs of People's Party, two of them actually. So the first one, Kun Sirikanya Tansakun, commented that the PM just went on stage to say which deputy and ministers is doing what. And Kun Nathapong Rungpanyawut, the leader of the People's Party, told reporters that the PM's speech did not cover all issues and lacked a comprehensive plan.
All right.
Yeah. He also said that he expects the PM to recognize the importance of the legislative branch by answering questions in Parliament. Now, we dig up some numbers. It would be interesting to see how the current PM's record on these parliamentary questions turn out. Because remember what happened in her aunt's government?
Yeah.
So according to thaipublica.org, her aunt Ying has a record of answering about 3.84% of the questions put to her in Parliament between the start of her term in 2011 to 2012. That was just like through the course of 1 year. She answered out of 52 questions put to her and her deputy PM, she only answered 2. That was Ying Lak.
Yes. And you know what? Similar things also happened while Kun Thaksin Shinawatra was Prime Minister. He avoided most of the question times in the Parliament.
Yeah, so it seems to be a family trait of some sort.
Okay. Now let's move on to what I would say is a world record that Thailand has.
A world record.
But not the record that I believe, not the record that I think most Thai are truly proud of. Because when it comes to military intervention in politics, Thailand is second to none. Should we be proud of that?
Not really. No.
Because in its over 30 years of modern history, Thailand has had altogether 13 military coups. Yes, 13 military takeovers. And that comes to an average of a coup every 7 to 8 years.
Yeah,
and we are talking about only the successful coup, successful ones. We not to mention the aborted ones, failed ones that there were many of them as well. Yeah.
So I guess it has always been a preoccupation of liberal-minded politicians and political parties to try to figure out ways that could put a stop to the military dominations in politics.
Right. And finally, a group of legislators of Pheu Thai, the ruling party, believe that they have come up with the right idea on how to push back the military, put the armed forces under the controls of the politicians. That they see as the right solution.
Well, of course, this is something easily said than done, I think, as they found out this week, right? So the Pheu Thai legislators have introduced a bill which they said is designed to curb military influence and even to stop future military coup.
And they hope to do so by amending the existing, the so-called Defense Ministry Administration Act, which is a law that sets the rule on how military affairs, including promotions and appointments of senior positions, are managed. So there is a set of rules governing this process.
Yeah.
And at the crux of the proposal is the transfer of the authority to appoint generals, officers at the general levels of all the armed forces to the cabinet. The cabinet then would have the authority, according to the proposal, to reject or have the appointments or promotions proposed by the military revised. And as is the case today, is the Defense Council that has the final say in the military appointments and reshuffles. Yeah. The council is currently dominated by top-ranking military officers, including the commanders-in-chief of the 3 armed forces.
So the current mechanism is designed to prevent political interference in military appointments.
That's true. But what is even more interesting is that the proposal by the Thepchai MPs also calls for the Prime Minister to replace the Defense Minister as chairman of the council that makes the appointment of the military officers. The idea is to ensure a tighter rein by politicians on the military.
And they believe that the proposed changes would help promote transparency and meritocracy in military appointments as well. And they argue that under the current structure, military appointments or reshuffles are often marred with nepotism or favoritism.
Now, the bill also sets conditions for military officers to be promoted to become generals, because in the past there has, even it is as the case today, there's not many rules governing this kind of promotions. Because according to the bill, these officers must have a clean record, free from involvement in influence peddling, illicit activities such as drug or human trafficking and environmental degradation.
These are very hard to measure.
No, what is interesting is that currently there are no regulations dealing with these kind of things. So that means that even if an officer is accused or is alleged to be involved in some kind of illegal activities, that would not be taken into account when it comes to his or her promotion.
Okay, so the proposal takes aim at wayward military officers who abuse their power for personal gains, with many becoming to be known as mafia uniforms.
Okay.
Mafia in uniforms?
Yeah, that's right. We have been hearing a lot about these so-called uniformed mafias.
Oh my goodness.
Mafias in uniforms, right? And the best-known cases involve how these people, set up their own security companies to provide bodyguards, security for entertainment places.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah. The bill also calls for prohibition of the use of military forces or personnel in a way that would contravene the constitution and the laws. And according to the bill, with the approval of the cabinet, the Prime Minister would be authorized to suspend any high-ranking military officers found to be preparing to engage in such illegal action that is planning military intervention or a coup.
And this is important because according to the proposal, the bill, military officers can refuse to participate in such unlawful act without fear of penalty. Because in the past, when military personnel officers are asked to take part in any illegal activities, including military coup d'etats, these people would not dare to refuse the orders.
So it weakens the chain of command in a way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And that's the purpose of this bill, to make sure that the military will be put under stricter control. Yeah.
So it's going to be a new order.
Yeah. Because in short, the bill basically seeks to establish a new order, as you said, within the military by putting it under the control of politicians in power. Right. It's one of the three proposed legislative amendments to amend the Defense Ministry Administration Act pending in the House. Yeah.
And the amendments, the draft that created the most uproar, of course, is the one proposed by the Thepchai MP. And even some ofภูมิใจไทย party's coalition partners, especiallyภูมิใจไทย, have also voiced opposition to the bill at the moment.
No, but besides the contents of the bill itself, the media focus has also been on its key sponsor, Kun Prayut Siripanit, a partyless MP of Thepchai Party. And one question raised by the Thai media is why Thepchai Party allowed Prayut to initiate the bill in the first place. And the 79-year-old veteran politician is no stranger to political controversies.
Yeah, remember it was him who set the ball rolling that led to the ouster of Prime Minister Yong Shinawatra back in 2014 with a military coup as well.
I'm sure most people still remember what he did.
Yes, he introduced a bill to grant a blanket amnesty for political offences that was understood to cover the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who was then still in self-exile. The bill sparked an immediate street protest that ballooned into a mass campaign to oust the Yingluck government.
So how have the Thai media been reporting on this issue? The media in the past 1 week have been full of criticisms from critics of the bill, who argue that it would do nothing to stop military intervention in politics, but instead it would open the door to political intervention in military affairs. They also expressed fears that this would even stoke a new round of conflicts between the military and the politicians.
Yeah, and the loudest voice against the bill is my favorite. It came from Deputy Prime Minister, Interior Minister Anuthin Chanvirakul. Yeah, he dismissed the rationale that the bill was necessary to help block future military coup. And he says, I don't agree with the idea. Stopping coups has nothing to do with politicians, he said.
All right. And then he had this to say about politicians.
Yeah.
As seen in the past, it's the politicians who created conditions for coups. Without such conditions, there would not have been coups. So he was simply putting the blame on politicians.
He's making references to his own kind. Okay, so he was apparently referring to the charges of corruption and abuse of power by politicians in power that were often cited by military or to justify their intervention.
All right. So Anuthin said that any legislation designed to stop military intervention in politics is nothing but symbolic. It's not practical, that's what he means. And he said, we all know that once they seize power, the first thing they do is to tear up the constitution.
Yeah. This is my favorite one actually. Why bother writing it when they're going to throw it out the window anyway?
Yeah, that's what he meant, yeah.
So there's another person who reacts to Kun Anuthin's criticism. The Defense Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra was quick to distance himself from the controversial legislation as well. Kun Paetongtarn, who is the key figure of Thepchai, insisted that the bill was Prayut's initiative and the party has nothing to do with it. Yeah, he said, what is on paper is not as important as what is happening on the ground, which is working and cooperating with the military to help in the development and solving problems of the country.
And Paetongtarn insisted that Prayut and the co-sponsors of the bill do not represent Thai party. And he has this to say, they have the prerogative to act on their own, but they do not represent the party. So in short, he wants to say that the party has nothing to do with the bill.
It's going to make his life very difficult if it goes through, because remember, he's in charge of the defense ministry.
I think his idea was to make sure that the Thai party would not be seen as confronting the military.
Yeah.
So he passed the blame to the co-sponsor of the bill.
Yeah,
so besides Thepchai Thai, another member of the Thai-led coalition government, the United Thai Nation Party, which was once the political base of former Prime Minister Patchimanon, has also voiced strong objection to the bill. Palang Pracharat, another opposition party led by the former military strongman, General Pravit Wongsuwan, is also openly opposed to the bill.
Everybody seems to have something to say about this, because even former Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva also questioned the merits of the bill, which he said would open the way for political interference in military appointments.
So far only the People's Party, the main opposition party, has openly declared support for the bill, which it said corresponds with its own version of the legislation to reform the military.
Yes, so it's worth noting that reforming the military was one of the key election campaign promises made by the Thai party, but after more than a year in power, except for the bill proposed by Prayut Siripanit, the party has shown no signs that it's taking any concrete steps to shake up the military.
And eventually, this is what happened as the week drew to the end. As the opposition and uproar over the bill escalated its key sponsor, Kun Prayut, decided to backtrack.
Yeah, he made a press conference on Thursday. He said that this decision was based on opinions and reactions he had been hearing over the past few weeks, and he admitted that the bill has several flaws that need to be addressed.
But Prayut did not say which specific items in the bill will need to be revised or how long it will take before being resubmitted to the House. Or will it be resubmitted to the House at all?
So now the contents of the bill is on the website, right, of the House of Representatives, and public opinions are welcomed.
But so far, the public reactions to the legislation nicknamed Anti-coup bill have been rather mixed. I mean, critics see it as an attempt by politicians to interfere in military affairs for their own interests, while proponents believe it will help keep the military in check and minimize the chance of future coup d'etats.
However, the key sponsor of the bill, Kun Prayut Siriphanit, insisted he is not yet throwing in the towel with the bill. It was withdrawn for revision based on feedbacks from members of the public and legislature, and he insisted that the bill was essentially designed to reform the armed forces and empower civilian governments to deal with military intervention. And then he made reference to the situation in South Korea as well. Remember, South Korean parliament voted against martial law imposed by President Yoon Suk-yeol last week. And he said the South Korean political crisis should serve as a reminder that countries like Thailand may need to have mechanisms to deal with military intervention.
And what does Prime Minister Paetongtarn have to say about all this?
She played it down.
She tried to play it down when was pressed by journalists about her reaction. She insisted that her government has no intention of interfering with military appointments, and that the bill was Prayut's personal initiative and not her party's.
Yeah, she also said that the party has no problems with the military.
She's emphasizing that the whole affair has nothing to do with her party. It's Kun Prayut, that party list MP's own initiative. I mean, for the bill to be introduced to the House.
Yeah, I guess we have to wait and see whether the decision to have the bill withdrawn, which is a tactical move to lessen the mounting pressure, or Prayut believes he has run into a wall.
That's right. No, but what is certain in the eyes of political commentators is that Kun Prayut would not have submitted the bill in the first place without the green light from the party, right? Especially the party's leadership and the party's de facto leader, Paetongtarn Shinawatra. Kun Thaksin certainly has every reason to want to see the military reined in. Right? He himself and his sister, Yong Shinawatra, remember? The former Prime Minister, the two were victims of military intervention themselves, right?
Yes.
Both were ousted in military coup d'etats led by generals they thought they could trust. So this whole thing has suddenly become a hot potato for Pheu Thai party. So it would be interesting to see how it will find a way out of this.
It's got issues with the military. Now, we're going to move on to another hot issue being debated, and we're talking about the MOU 44 or 2001 MOU.
And it continues to make headlines this week. The focus, however, has been on how Sonthi Limthongkul, an influential media figure and a prominent critic of the Paetongtarn government, has brought the whole thing to another level.
So Sonthi is still ambivalent as to how he will react if he doesn't get what he wants. That is, the scrapping of the controversial Memorandum of Understanding. But he has not ruled out the possibility of leading his nationalist supporters onto the streets.
And as promised, Sonthi and hundreds of his supporters turn up at the government house on Monday to submit a petition calling on Prime Minister Paetongtarn to scrap MOU 44, signed between Thailand and Cambodia to pave the way for talks to settle the overlapping claims area in the Gulf of Thailand. Sonthi accused supporters of MOU 44 of selling out the country.
Well, in his speech to his supporters, Sonthi hinted at how he would carry out his struggle against the Paetongtarn government over the MOU 44 issue. And that's the quote. He says, history is going to repeat itself, but this time around, there needs to be a lot of caution. And then he adds that this time, if we want to fight, we need to make sure that there will be victory.
Sonthi was obviously trying to rekindle the memory of the months-long street protests he launched against the Thaksin government under the banner of the yellow shirt, and which culminated in the ousting of the Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra by the military in 2006. Sonthi and his supporters at the time accused Thaksin of rampant corruption and abuse of power.
Yeah, but that was like almost 20 years ago. Remember now, he's 77, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people still wonders if he has the charisma or appeal to draw people onto the street like he did that time in 2006. And addressing such doubt, Sonthi actually said this. He said, the fact that the size of the crowd supporting his movement at the government house spoke for itself. I am sure when the time comes, there will be tens of thousands more people coming out, he said.
So far the Paetongtarn government has defended the MOU as nothing more than a document that served as the basis for the two countries, Thailand and Cambodia, to resolve their overlapping claims areas in the Gulf of Thailand to pave the way for negotiations on the joint exploitation of the energy resources underneath. And Prime Minister Paetongtarn and Defense Minister Kun Phumtham have been at pains to dismiss critics' charges that the document compromises Thailand's territorial sovereignty, especially over continental shelf areas, including those surrounding Gut Island, a major tourist island in Trat province that borders Cambodia.
They also maintain that they're open to talks with Sonthi and other critics of MOU 44, and indirectly have appealed to Sonthi to refrain from resorting to street protests, which they said may lead to larger conflicts affecting the country's economy.
Okay. And Sonthi has accused Thaksin of colluding with then Prime Minister Hun Sen of Cambodia to come up with the MOU in 2001, as both allegedly hoped to have personal gains from the joint exploitation of the energy resources in the areas.
Yeah, and in the 6-point petition submitted to the government, Sonthi demands the cabinet to ask the Constitutional Court to rule whether the signing of MOU 44 violates the Constitution. And if the court rules that the document is not constitutional, the government must scrap all negotiations with Cambodia under MOU 44 and reject all of Phnom Penh's territorial claims.
No, but if the court rules in favor of MOU 44, the government must immediately negotiate with Cambodia to have it scrapped and to set a new framework for negotiations. So in short, either way, Sonthi wants MOU 44 rejected altogether.
Yeah. Either way is a no, isn't it? So he also demands that the government put on hold the appointment of a new joint technical committee that would handle negotiations under MOU 44 pending the Constitutional Court's ruling. And he also wants the government to hold a public hearing on MOU 44 to ensure that it hears divergent views from the people on the issue of such importance.
And Sonthi gave the government 15 days to respond to the petition. He did not spell out further actions if his demands are not met, except saying he would bring the case to House Speaker Wan Muhammadawatha so that it would be taken up by legislators. And he said any of the MPs and senators voting in favor of the MOU will be considered traitors. Very strong words.
Strong words, yes. So Ms. Walintiporn Warin Wacharod, Deputy Secretary General of the Pheu Thai Party, meanwhile said that the issue of MOU 44 is still far from being taken up by the legislative branch. She explained that it would be considered by the House only when it is formally submitted as legislation, and that is something she said is still a very long way off.
Now the government insists that the controversial document is just a memorandum about, it's just an MOU and not the treaty.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need parliamentary endorsement.
Yeah, it does. So it's quite a dilemma, isn't it, to submit or not submit and how to handle it moving forward. Now, in her first comments in response to Sonti's threat, Prime Minister Paetongtarn said she has read his petition and she's treating it as part of the feedbacks her government receives from the public on the issue. Yeah. And she ruled out a public hearing on the controversy as demanded by Sonti and his supporters. And the Prime Minister also appealed for calm and gave an assurance that her government will deal with Cambodia over the issue cautiously with national interest as top priority.
And politically speaking, the ongoing MOU 44 controversy has raised one crucial question. Is it posing a real threat to the survival of the young Paetongtarn government? I think that's a question. That's a big question.
Yes, and the media seems to agree that all of the issues confronting the coalition governments, the MOU 44 controversy is the most serious one. But whether or not it's serious enough to threaten its survival is another question. However, they noted that if not properly managed, the issue could escalate into a significant political challenge for the Paetongtarn government, and they believe that accusations claiming the MOU compromises Thailand's territorial sovereignty could easily mobilize groups of discontented people with the current administration and Thaksin's behind-the-scene political influence.
Many of the political analysts that we talked to concurred that the crux of the problems with MOU 44 may not lie with its contents, but it has more to do with the perception among many people that it was the result of a collusion between former Prime Ministers Thaksin and Hun Sen, very similar to what Kun Sonti has said.
Yeah.
And Thaksin has made no secret of his close ties with Hun Sen, who is now President of Cambodia's Senate and is believed to be still wielding the ultimate power in the country. And meanwhile, Thaksin, as we all know, is the most powerful man in the ruling Pheu Thai party, even though he holds no formal position either in the party or in the government.
Yes, remember shortly after Thaksin went into self-exile after the coup in 2006, the then Prime Minister Hun Sen actually appointed him as an advisor to his government. So that's how close they are. And only weeks before he ended his self-exile and returned to Bangkok last year, Thaksin and Yingluck, the former Prime Minister, visited the Hun family in Phnom Penh to attend Hun Sen's birthday party.
That's right. Hun Sen himself, meanwhile, also did not hesitate to put his close ties with Thaksin on a show. In February this year, after Thaksin was released on parole, remember? Hun Sen flew to Bangkok to meet the former Prime Minister at the latter's residence with an invitation for his daughter, Thaksin's daughter, Paetongtarn, to visit Phnom Penh. And a few weeks later, Paetongtarn led the delegation of executives of Pheu Thai party to visit Hun Sen, who made sure to accord her with a grand reception.
Yes, and they're very close. Even, Hun Sen likes to post on social media, right? He even called Thaksin his brother on social media. Yeah. So, but Thaksin so far has kind of avoided direct commenting on the controversy, except trying to portray it as a political attack on him and the government.
But on Thursday, and he did say something about this that gave us some idea as to what he's thinking about the whole thing. While he was helping with the campaign on behalf of Pheu Thai party in the local election in Ubon Ratchathani in the northeast, Thaksin said he is open to having talks with anyone who might have questions about MOU 44, including Sonthi Limthongkul, right? He's now opening the door to talks, right? Thaksin said the document was signed with Cambodia while he was prime minister. So he is obliged to offer an explanation about its rationale.
Okay, okay. So I think we're going to be hearing a bit more from him on the issue.
Oh, definitely.
What do you think?
Not only about this issue, but he seemed to be doing all the best he can to make sure that his presence is being felt on a daily basis by the media. He will be busy helping with the campaigns in local elections in many provinces from this point on. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. A lot of local elections coming up, and that would serve as a bearing for the next general election as well. A lot of people are looking at that way.
Okay.
Anyway, I guess that's it for this week's of Media Pulse. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.